The love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT Radio. Net Radio.
Mountains are high but never higher than we, and we can get over it. And our problems could have big but never bigger than we, and we can get over it. Over it, over it, over it, over it. The Almighty get we through. Over it, over it, over it, over it. I used to pressures that come, my life I come, but we juggling and keep juggling over. I used to wicked I come and bad mind I come, and we keep on juggling over. We not deal up when things get bad, we don't wheel up. Orange peel up, I put in on my tea and me drink up. Cause when our bills are piling, food are low, we keep on juggling over. And when Papa kinda hold me in his arms, I'm juggling over. Yeah. Mountains are high but never higher than we, and we can get over it. And our problems could have been but never bigger than we, and we can get over it. Over it. The Almighty get we through. Over it. Now I've been broken, and I know what it feels to be run down. Yeah, I've been hurting, and I know what it feels to be let down. Let me just and get over it. I used to push to come, my life I come, but we juggling and keep juggling over.
Wake up, rise up. It's the Net Radio Breakfast Show, bringing you the energy, music, and vibes to start your day right.
Mountains are high but never higher than
bringing you the energy and the vibes to start your day right. And of course, that is what we do. Everybody, welcome to it. Welcome to New Era TT Radio. Taking you above and beyond, the heartbeat of the Caribbean. Yeah, and of course, we are coming to you from the beautiful, gorgeous Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to say a very special good morning to everybody, all of TNT, those of you in the Caribbean, and our friends who are streaming all around the globe. It's so glad to have you. As always, I want to say much thanks to the Heavenly Father, bringing us together for another day. And everything that we do, dear God, let it be a blessing on to you. Sir Charles, that's me, and happy am I to be here with you, because this is our Get Up and Go as we welcome everybody to the breakfast show.
Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Oh, good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show, energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
All right, so good morning. It is Monday morning, and welcome to the breakfast show on this a little bit rainy Monday morning, quite frankly. And of course, it's been a hectic weekend, at least for me. So it was a big effort to get up this morning, trust me. And I'm sure it's a big effort for a lot of you getting up to head to work this morning. But get up and go. That's what we do, and we provide you company. It's the breakfast show this morning, and a good morning to all of our listeners and viewers across the planet, in Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, and of course, wherever you are on the planet. A big good morning to you, and of course, a good morning to my co-hosts, Stephen and Sir Charles.
Good morning, Richard Ragobasin. Good morning, Sir Charles Davis. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. Is it rain? Where you say rainy? I went outside just now.
It's a little rainy. Trust me.
Yeah.
I was on the road. I walked on the road to get papers, and I had to go with an umbrella. Trust me.
And it looks like you're going to get some more rain just now.
All right. But I was outside this morning, but I didn't detect any kind of... Maybe I was outside too early. But yeah, here we are. We're happy to be in the land of the living. And for those who are celebrating birthdays like Kamla Shamsuna Mohammed, she is at the Port of Spain Corporation, and Antonio Butts, they're celebrating birthdays today. Happy birthday. Yesterday would have been the birthday of Basdeo Pandey. May 25th would have been his birthday. It also would have been it was the birthday of my good friend Kenneth Cordner. Happy belated birthday greetings to you all. And of course, if you're celebrating a special anniversary, now is the time of the year for that, of course. Those anniversaries and things like that, of course. Happy anniversary from the breakfast show. All right. My apologies for Friday. I didn't foresee Friday having a problem, but there was globally, and it affected me. And here I am. Morning, Charmaine. Good morning. Robert Taylor from Fernandino Beach. He is in Trinidad, and Charmaine, I think, left Trinidad this morning. Left to go back today or yesterday. One of those days.
Yeah. A special good morning to CJ. She came to the play over the weekend. She came on Saturday night.
She told me.
Yeah, so a special good morning to CJ. She came backstage after, so I met up with her, and then she brought a wonderful gift. So, a special good morning to you, CJ. And
thanks for the gifts, Charmaine, CJ, yeah. Of course. I will receive mine, I guess, at some point in time. And the lady with the 1,000 ceramic pegs, get on to me.
And Zena, but Zena didn't come back. I think Zena had to hurry off because she was with a significant other. But yeah, a special good morning, Strongy. A special good morning to Zena too, and to CJ. Both of who came to the play, married and mischievous over the weekend. And of course, I mean, oh my God, we had fantastic houses at Queen's Hall. And
I can imagine.
I swear that audience was screaming and laughing so much. I am sure that tourists in the Trinidad Hilton would have wanted to know what the hell was going on in Queen's Hall. They would have been hearing screams and laughter, and they would have been wondering, what the hell is going on? You know, so a special good morning to Penny Kamiziam. She was there last night too. And so she gave me a friend of mine, so that's how I knew. So yeah, but it was, I mean, 2 wonderful shows. And of course, we move on to one show only in San Fernando now on Sunday, June 8th. So San Fernando, you're getting it for one night only on Sunday, June 8th at Sapa. And of course, tickets go on sale this week. You should get your tickets early, trust me. Yeah. I mean, this play has been having a fantastic response from members of the audience. Stephen
and his wife, Roslyn, I think, were also there last night. I don't know if they pass and check you after.
Oh, no, they didn't come back to you. They wouldn't come back to you unless you were them or something.
Yeah, but I tell them, come and check you.
No, they didn't come.
All right. But Charmaine was hoarse yesterday because she said when I screamed so much in that play. And you know she liked to laugh, eh?
Yeah. And Zena.
Because it goes without saying with Zena.
And so thanks to all the people who came out over the weekend at Queen's Hall. I mean, I had a friend who's passing and said, oh God, look at traffic around the Savannah, because the traffic was all around the Savannah. Just with people trying to get into Queen's Hall. Of course, there was no parking in Queen's Hall after a point. You know, so I mean, people really came out in droves and droves to see
Queen's Hall will be, Richard, Queen's Hall will be considered a bigger venue than the others, except for Napa, right?
Except for Napa.
Okay.
It's bigger than all the others except Napa. It's
right.
Second after Napa, then third would probably be Sapa.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
In terms of size. Yeah, but Napa is the biggest. Yeah, Napa is the biggest. Yeah, so thank you. And of course, all of that over the weekend has me a little drained this morning, but it doesn't matter. We are here this morning with you on The Breakfast Show. And of course, this is the time for our good news, because, you know, we always start with some good news. And today is no different. Better, but some, views of Manzanilla on an early morning.
Can't tell you last time I went on there.
That's good news.
Went up there.
Well, the more they tell me, the more I'm holding you close. I could never let you go. Miss how she lay. Girl, I'm coming home, I will see you again. All day through the night, I'm dreaming. Yeah. Miss how she lay. Make it smooth, my darling, when outside is pouring rain.
Isn't it the views that you get from Trinidad sometimes? This is so nice. You should.
Yeah. Only you alone can put fire back.
That's known for that,
And they're telling me I should leave that fire alone. Well, the more they tell me, the more I'm holding you close.
Right.
I could never let you go.
This morning,
Girl, I'm coming home, I will see you again. All day through the night,
I wonder what you used to get that footage.
Yeah, miss how she lay. When you turn it up, make it smooth, my darling. When outside is pouring rain.
So thanks to Abdul for that footage.
He probably would have used a drone, eh?
Yeah. Of the Manzanilla sunrise. Beautiful, images of the Trinidad North Coast.
Yeah, north.
Yeah. So, wonderful. So, of course, that would have been our good news. Let me end it, because when will I need to end it?
All right. That was our good news,
Now we can get into Bacchanal. You know what? Let's greet our people first, before we get into
Yes, we shall. Let's go first with Susan Jessup, who woke up late today at 2:41. God Almighty and His Son Jesus Christ. Irene. Morning,
Rain,
Susan.
we
From Susan, Suzette, and Miss Gemma. Then we have Anthony Tinto. Where did his message go? Hey. Anthony Tinto, Grand Rising to the Breakfast Crew and all locked on. Shalom. Melissa from Charfle, Slick Money Grip. Magic. Patricia Defoe. Boy Bidesi from Debe. Show and Co from Arima. Marcia Rock. Happy Monday, gentlemen. From Orlando. Marlon Motley. Carol Guevara.
Marlon.
From Tucson, Arizona. Kathy Ann Charles. Chris Tusa from Washington. Odell Guy. Joyce Phillip. Arch Nemesis. Garvin Frank. Cheryl Silly. Lambert Bruce. Wendy Ann James. Morning, Wendy Ann. Apollonia. Where did Apollonius go? Where did it go? Hey, that's it. Good morning, Sir Charles and Wendell. Sir Charles Richard and Wendell. Robert Taylor, good morning, my brother. Sabita Bierce, Ilarizan, Trinidad Margo, thanks, Ingrid. Alistair Hart from sunny San Fernando says, good morning, guys. I actually visited a family member yesterday who has Alzheimer's. Very sad indeed. Yeah, that is a reality that a lot of us face, as a lot of families face. So we are going to discuss it today. We're going to have a Dr. What's his name, Richard?
Dr. Nicholas Maraj, neurologist. He'll be on in the next hour, and we'll be discussing Alzheimer's and, of course, brain health. And giving you some good
It's very common, you know.
Yeah,
and,
very, very common.
and some good insight.
Wayne Ramsey from Fort Lauderdale. Kazim Mohammed. Good morning to the Balance Crew. Okay, thanks, Kazim. James Kamau. Ilarizan, Richard, where can I get tickets for the South Show? He will tell you at some point in time.
I'm going to tell all you. Yeah, no.
He's going to play the ad too. Romantic Intense morning, marvelous on Monday morning. Ambrose Blah from New York, good morning. Trini gets fit. Carol Guevara said she was there on Saturday, Richard.
Okay, Carol. Thank
somebody
you.
beg it. Somebody want to be part of the gimme gang here. Paul Cordy says good morning. Julia Batiste, Mrs. R, the Lips Celeste, Wayne Joseph, and Mrs. R. Okay.
Good morning, Mrs. R.
And her flight back.
Yeah.
All right. So those are all our greetings so far for the morning. And of course, as I said, if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday.
Yep.
So.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sir Charles. My humblest apology.
Yes. So, Rena is here also, Miss Bodo Jennings. Good day to you. Terry Ann Peters, up very early. Good morning. Frank, I don't know Frank, what's your last name? You can send
Frank
me that.
James?
I'm not sure, but Frank, send me your last name. To Carla Kudjo Pittman, good morning. Evans David is inside also. Good morning, Evans. And Archbishop Ashton Clark out there in Canada. Good day to you people. Yeah.
All right. Una Antoine also says good morning. So over the weekend, Saturday to be exact, I get this WhatsApp with some message about the PBR passes. And I see my name on it. And with vehicle numbers and things. I said, what sort of scandal is this? Remember, I messaged the chat and I asked you all, what is this about?
Yeah.
And you all did say it was raised apparently at a post-cabinet meeting about PBR passes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, but wait, how I get in that? I don't have any, I not only PBR illegally, I didn't illegally obtain a PBR pass. I didn't pay under the table for a PBR pass. I've been applying and getting PBR passes for the last 23 odd years, and including the 5 years that the People's Partnership were in power, I applied for and got PBR passes. And as a matter of fact, Jack Warner always used to boast whenever we interview him. When they'll tell them you get PBR pass. And I said, I thank you. And because he actually had my PBR pass delivered, I never had to go for it. Jack Warner used to get my PBR pass delivered to where I was. So I read in the story and I saying, what is this about? And then when I got the gist of it, I'm saying, okay, but why would they put people's names and vehicle numbers in public like that? You know, why would you do that? You know what I mean? You want to embarrass people, I would imagine. Well, talk your talk now. But don't print people. A lot of people are very security conscious and are very conscious about their privacy. And I'm saying, okay, why? Because the problem in these people who get a PBR pass, the problem might actually be people who not getting PBR passes and who using the bus should still. You understand? Because you have no record of that. At least you have a record of the people who would have gotten it. You have no record of the hundreds of people who don't have a PBR pass and on the bus shoot. And I'm saying, okay, you want a PBR pass, you could take it.
Yeah.
Because at the point in time when I applied, it's because I was coming into Port of Spain every single day. I didn't have a choice. The radio station was in Port of Spain, I live in Arima. City Hall in Port of Spain, I live in Arima. The business place in Port of Spain, I live in Arima. So I didn't have a choice. Okay? But if this is the way, if we're going to make a whole spectacle out of a PBR pass, trust me, you can have it. You understand? I didn't
understand. I didn't understand. I mean, if you want to recall PBR passes, you're entitled to recall PBR passes.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
You know, and let them, because PBR passes are all registered. So the Ministry of Works and Transport would have a list of all the people, just like they had a list to print it, would have a list of all the people and their contact information and just request the PBR passes to come in. The government has changed, and of course they now want to call in these passes and well, do whatever their new system would be, whatever that is. Or they want to go through a revalidation exercise, whatever the reason. I have no issue with your reason. If it is that's what you want to do, you want to revalidate, whatever. But that's you can do it. You're now in power. Ministry of Transport can recall passes. They're entitled to do that.
But Richard,
but I have a problem with putting people's names out there. That comes across, with all due respect, vindictive and petty. And we are trying to rise the UNC. The UNC had such wonderful marketing. And you know me, Wendell, I told you from day one, I said the UNC has better marketing than the PNM for this election. I said that.
Yes.
They have a wonderful, very inspiring ad with a pilot talking and saying, this is your pilot speaking about a land in Trinidad and Tobago and this sense of hope and newness and rebirth, and because, you know, things have changed. Wonderful. Yes. Very inspiring, very hopeful. You can't have that kind of messaging on one hand, and on the other hand, be doing petty and almost vindictive stuff.
Yeah.
Then it reads false.
Yes.
And it reads shallow. And don't do yourself that. If you're going around the narrative of being hopeful and being different, and in terms of how you're dealing with stuff, because at many times the PNM came across pretty arrogant in terms of how they dealt with certain things. And you're saying that's not the way you want to deal with it in a particular way, then deal with it in a particular way. And that's what your advertising said. We all win with UNC. You have, as I said, it's a wonderful ad with the pilot, very creative. And I loved it. And I said, oh, that's a very wonderful, hopeful, inspiring ad. And then you come and you do stuff like that. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Don't self-sabotage by trying to gain political points by being vindictive and petty, by putting out 625 names, if that's what it was, because those 625 names very much would probably have people who voted for you.
I know, I've seen the list, Richard, and I know it have UNC support.
Would have people who voted for you, and not only that, but they're also Trinidadians and Tobagonians, and you're about everybody. That was your messaging. So don't do things like that. If you're recalling the passes, because these people didn't get it illegally, they went through a process.
Yes.
You may want to now tweak that process and make it more whatever you want to do, which is what you're entitled to do. And I have no issue with that. But do it in, a professional, courteous manner. That's all.
But Richard, it's so easy. All these passes have an expiry date. They just expire and don't renew them if that's the case. Yeah. You make this big spectacle about it.
But ultimately, I have no problem with them recalling it. If that's your process and you want to go through a process and you're telling everybody, you can do it professionally and say, look, we're recording. We want to revalidate all the passes. Mr. Stephen, could you just bring in your pass? You are entitled to apply again, and we will consider it. End of story.
Richard, we have had several changes in government over the years, and I have never seen or heard anything like this.
Yeah. No, so
Even
I'm just
when
saying,
People's Partnership came into power in 2010, in May 2010, they didn't do that.
Yeah, so I'm
What
just
was
saying,
done?
just do it in a professional, courteous manner. Because if you're saying courtesy and professionalism is what you are aspiring to, then don't just be shallow words, walk the walk.
Yeah.
And don't try to gain petty, silly points by doing something like that. It comes across a little petty. And we call it as we see it on this program. That, you know, we have our opinions on this program, and we call it like how we see it.
Yep.
That's how I see it.
Yep. That was one. And the other one, of course, is I'm going to be very guarded on, because we want to poll it this morning, on my comments with the selection of the 6 opposition senators. Right? I support Janelle John Bates. I know this young lady from a long time. I know her mom. We've been in touch. She's an ardent fan of the show, the Power Breakfast show, and now this show. So she might actually be listening. She and her mom and her family. So I support her. I know Janelle has always been interested in the politics, and she always wanted to start at a low level. She asked me about party groups. She asked me about all manner of things over the period of time, right, that we've been in touch with one another. She's a bright young attorney at law, and she was always interested in serving, right? So when I saw her name there, because she didn't hint to me, I didn't know about who. Of course, they kept the 6 names very quiet, right? So when I saw her name, I immediately messaged her mom, and I messaged her also too, with congratulations, right? So I am happy for Janelle. I'm very happy for Janelle John Bates. Anytime I call her Janelle John, because I know her since then, she said, hey, my name is Janelle John Bates. She's now married. She's a mother. I think Penelope Beckles has scored high choosing Janelle John Bates. Time will tell, of course, what level of contribution she brings to the Senate, but I support her. The young lady from Tobago, I don't know. I've never heard of her before. I will give her the benefit of the doubt that Penelope Beckles Robinson also made a good choice. I also support Vishnu Danpal there for the experience and for the financial advice that he will provide to the upper house. The other 3 people, I holding my tongue on that.
Oh Lord, don't hold your tongue. Don't hold your tongue. It don't work so. It don't work so. Not on this program.
Let me tell you something.
High praise. Oh, she made good choices. She got in high points. Then all of a sudden you reach the other 3.
Well, I want to know. I want to first see what is the strategy, because Foster Cummins has been a senator and a minister for the last 10 years. Right? Senator, MP, minister for the last 10 years. Dr. Emery Brown has been at some level of governance, including a minister for that 10-year period also too, right? He was an ambassador, and I think he was brought back as a minister and so on, right? Faris Al-Rawi, we know he has been a MP and a minister for the last 10 years, 7 of which he spent as Attorney General in this country. 3 of them just escorted the PNM out of government. I use nice words this morning. 3 of them were part of escorting the PNM out of government. What can they do in opposition to escort the PNM back in? I wait to see the strategy. We will speak with Mrs. Penelope Beckles Robinson, and we will see how that goes. I waiting to see, because I hold in my support. My support right now in a brown bag, waiting before I decide I'm supporting that, because they didn't just come.
That sounds like a very wet brown paper bag you hold in your hand. And that support started to peek through and bust below that bag already. That's what I'm talking like.
Ants might eat it out. Ants like brown paper.
Brown paper bag? Sir Charles, he say a double, when they double bag, a plastic bag. He say, I'm putting my support in a double bag plastic bag. To hear what you have to say first. No, I'm putting it in a brown paper bag that wet.
If the strategy is about the internal elections, that's what we're waiting on. No? That's really what we're waiting on. If the strategy, because Mrs. Penelope Beckers Robinson is the opposition leader, we have no political leader right now. She has aspirations of being the political leader, I would imagine, right?
Of course she would.
Right. So I'm waiting to see if the strategy of these gentlemen is about political leadership. Because I don't know what they could contribute now in the opposition bench that they couldn't contribute on the government bench. Well, so I'm waiting to see. The other three, fine, passing grade. And you know when the time comes, I will let whoever needs to have it, right? You know that, right? Good.
I will just keep reminding you. I say when the brown paper bag bust yet. That's all I will ask you.
Yeah, I'm waiting because this habit of putting people who lost their seat back into the lower house, the upper house, is a practice that started. If you all remember, at least I remember back when Basil Pandey did it, and A.N.R. Robinson was the president. After Napoleon Raymond Robinson was the president, he was vehemently opposed to it. And there was a standoff between the then prime minister and the then president about appointing these senators as government ministers, okay? Because they were voting back in the Senate and as government ministers. There was a standoff. The legal advice to Mr. Robinson is that there's nothing he can do to prevent it. He has no choice but to appoint them. That happened. And from there, it continued to happen. Patrick Manning, God rest his soul, didn't do it. He had opposed putting back anybody who lost their seat back into any position of power like that. He didn't do it for the years he was in charge. Dr. Rowley, when he came in, he justified it. He said these losers can still contribute. And when he became prime minister, he put losers into the Senate. Right? Avinash Singh, Clarence Rambarat, Renuka Sagram Singh were three I could point out to that he put. As a matter of fact, Avinash Singh lose a by-election and a general election in a seat he couldn't possibly win. He couldn't win it. And he became a government minister immediately upon losing them seats. Right? I was always against that. I said it at forums within the party. And you know me. You know how they just treat me when they're ready, right? So, the hell with them. But now, the Mrs. Prasad Bisesa has also done it. With quite a bit of losers are, in fact, back in the Senate, right? But the difference is, when you're in government, you could get away with them thing. I don't know that you should be. I don't know that I don't know that I want to support that when you're in opposition, right? So
you think that Foster Cummings, Faris Al-Rawi, and Amory Brown should have walked off into the distance, basically?
If I think they should have walked off
into the distance, the political distance.
You mean scurry away?
Words.
You see why you went up on this?
Words.
But hopefully after very soon, people will only remember Wendell for radio. Forget me and the politics. Forget me and just remember me for radio.
Let me go through the headlines and then we can take some calls. I'm sure people have opinions on the issues raised so far. So let me get quickly into the headlines of the three dailies this morning. Of course, I'm starting with the Daily Express. Education Minister to fulfill PM's promise to constituents. Hindu school for Sando. That's the main headline that the Express went with. Fuad Abu Bakr, eyes roll in government. That's also a sub-headline. And there is it's a prayers executive chairman of Kusal's group of companies. Sunarayan Kusal offers prayers. So that's the main picture. And on the back page, charge didn't exist. Retired cop awarded $0.2 million after being wrongly prosecuted. Officer acted maliciously, so says Justice Carol Gobin. Good morning, Justice Gobin. And shot man dies after rushed to hospital. And there is a picture of a walkathon that took place steps to wellness. Minister on $20 million restoration museum, 84% complete. And Pete's wife still hoping for closure. All of that is on the back pages. And then into the sports, Garcia fit for TNT's WC qualifiers, World Cup qualifiers, Carty Masterclass, base platform for Windies, rout of Irish, draw ODI series 1-1. So that's the front and the back of the Daily Express. And moving on to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. What headline did they go with? I'm about to tell you. We are not all bad. Separated from their families in the US, deportees want to make a fresh start in Trinidad and Tobago. And there are pictures of deportees and their names on the front page. 3 deportees talking. Schoolboy to be questioned about fatal stabbing. That's a story that was making the rounds and with a lot of commentary on social media. And Sturge, I didn't want to be a minister. Good morning, Minister Sturge. I saw him the other day. Where was I? Was I in West Mall? And I told him, I said, hey, I sent your WhatsApp to come on the program. He said, I have over 4,000 WhatsApps, Richard. I said, well, then select mine and read it. So, but he gave me a number to set up an interview with him. So separate them apart. So I will hopefully get Minister Sturge on the program. And then on the back page, Carty's 170 helps Windies level series. So that's the front and the back of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. The news day for today, front page, cutlass wielding man wants action on Faizabad crime. Tanku threatened at home.
What's that?
Cutlass wielding man wants action on Faizabad crime. Tanku threatened at home. That's the headline of the news day.
Somebody went to his home with a cutlass?
Well, at that point, just reading the headline. I'll have to read the story to tell you.
My God.
TT marches to support Burkina Faso leader. So, of course, Tanku threatened at home. I could read a little bit of it. A cutlass-wielding man appeared in front of the home of Finance Minister Dabendranath Tanku in Faizabad with a message for both him and Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander. Sources told the Newsday the incident happened on the evening of May 24th. The man wearing dark clothes and riding a bicycle asked to speak to a female relative at the home. He told the woman to tell Tanku that he had a message for Alexander. He said there was an upsurge in crime in Faizabad and demanded immediate action from the minister. He warned the minister that better security was needed and don't stay home. He then left on his bike.
He called the police, of course.
Well, they said a report was made to the police, who immediately responded and searched the area, but the man could not be found. Newsday called the finance minister, who acknowledged that an incident took place at his home, but he declined further comment. Tanku, the MP for Faizabad, and Alexander were sworn in as ministers on May 3rd, blah, blah, blah. Newsday understands that patrols near Tanku's home have been increased and security has been beefed up as officers investigate the circumstances surrounding the incident. Efforts to contact Alexander on May 25th were futile and zero tolerance.
But he has video footage of it, of course, because if it happened by his home.
Well, I don't know. But the Junior Benjamin, the acting commissioner of police, said there'll be zero tolerance for threats. That's concerning.
It is concerning that somebody can come up to your home and threaten you like that.
And certainly, the police need to take, action on that. Protect Mr. Tanku. And they should give him, 24-hour security. I mean, if you get a threat like that, you're the Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
And on the back page of the Newsday, right-hander hits another 100 as West Indies level series versus Ireland. Carty goes back-to-back and Cardines, is that what it means? Or Cardines. Hungry for TT senior team football. And that's it for 3 dailies this morning.
Well done, Casey Carty. Really is a talented young batsman.
All right, so now we can take some of your calls. You can get a little interactive with us before we go to our morning poll. So let me pull up the numbers, so you can see the numbers to call. Well, the number to call, not numbers. Number. So it will be 281-1315, 281-1315. And just in case some of you are a little slow on the uptake, take that.
What are your thoughts, guys, on the opening of the parliament? When you look at the composition of the people in the parliament, I was actually paying attention to the opposition. You know, they did not have that look of great confidence. You know, being in the parliament. I don't know if you all
The opposition.
Yeah, the present opposition now. You know,
There's only 4 new ones there. Everybody else very familiar.
Yeah, but I found that they just you normally put up that face of confidence. I'm inside here, and regardless of what, I'm fighting like David. You know.
The chances are serious curtail they get to. That would take a little while to register, you know.
Yeah, and then I saw Mr. Young. I felt sorry for actually him. He was getting a lot of picong, you know, coming his direction and stuff. I think he just had to hold on his head, you know.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Young.
Oh well, he will get plenty picong. Coleman will get plenty picong too. There are plenty picong to withstand in there. What I found curious is that all of a sudden they all put on Balize ties again. I also found that curious.
Yeah, that was something else.
I will have more to say on that too at the next time.
All right, so let's take the calls as
Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of party symbols being in the parliament. I'm not.
Well,
Call
it went out the
good
door
morning to you.
without the rowdy. He had stopped it. He had made it. He had made it. How I should put it? Up to you. It's not always. It wasn't mandatory again. It used to be mandatory prior.
Yeah. But I always find party symbols should stay out of parliament.
All right, hold right here, guys.
The people's business, regardless. You know, that's
Right.
that's how I look at it.
Hold. Call up. Morning.
Go ahead. Sorry. Our apologies.
Hello, gentlemen. Good morning. Calling from
Morning.
New York. Happy Memorial Weekend. I don't appreciate you.
Yeah.
It's a holiday today in New York.
In the States, yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
the Memorial.
I should have been there.
Gentlemen, Wendell, good morning. Good morning.
Sir.
Your thoughts expressed about these senators. I'm in totally agreement. And one thing came to mind when I read this thing is, who has the crossover appeal among the selections? I mean, I was honestly, I was looking for young blood like Anita Hines and Obika. These were the 2 people I expected. Them appeared to be there, and I keep asking myself, who is there to? Really, the crossover appeal to the youth people, to the young people.
Thank you for adding that in there.
I am not too sure with those kind of selections. I'm not too sure whether PNM is really serious about getting back into government. But according to you, we don't know what their plan is, so let us wait and see.
Yeah.
But I'm in total support of your comments. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
All right.
Thank you, New York. And I'm happy you add that in. The crossover appeal. What will those 3 bring to the PNM? That 3 different faces. Even if you go to local government, there are some bright young people in local government. All right, I promise not to say too much. Go ahead.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. 2 points I would like to raise. One, because it's affected me personally, and I spoke about it already, and I hope it falls on the right ears. Gentlemen, I had a friend who passed away in Tobago last week, Monday. And up to now, they can't be buried because they're waiting on a forensic scientist to come to Tobago to do an autopsy.
That's still happening.
Last time this happened when the mother and the 2 children fell into the well, and they had to wait almost a month to get an autopsy done. I lobbied, I called the radio station, and I vehemently lobbied to get Tobago to have its own forensic scientist. People bash me and talk about why Tobago need a forensic scientist and whatnot. It's still happening where these remains have to be waiting over a week. Today's a week since my friend passed away, and they can't.
Yeah,
move forward because they're waiting on a forensic scientist to come to Tobago to do an autopsy. We have to do better than that. I don't know why the THA, I don't know if it's not in the constitution that the THA can't train and hire their own forensic scientists. But these are the reasons why sometimes I agree with the name that comes to mind, have some autonomy that they could do things on their own. That's the first thing. The second thing, gentlemen, Richard, you said something there that reminded me of 2010 to 2015, and the problem with us is that we just forget. In 2010 to 2015, remember the allegation that certain ministers' lives were at risk, and 5 ministers who was not supposed to have security and blue lights and escort were assigned those things. And Richard fall right into the trap this morning when they make us an allegation of some cutlass wielding man on a bicycle come to a minister house, and Richard fall right into the trap. Maybe we should assign by personal security. This is what they're playing for. They've done it. They did it already.
So you just dismiss it?
That's a stretch, Lincoln.
I mean, come on, you don't just dismiss it if there's a real and cogent threat.
Yeah, but
come on.
I want to bet you, Richard, because you said it. I want to bet you, Wendell, that there's no camera footage of that.
Well, I would hope not. I would hope that there is.
Okay, then. Okay, we'll wait for that. Have a good day, gentlemen.
So why would you make this? So what are you saying? Are you making the assumption
make up the story?
Minister Tanku is lying?
Yeah.
Automatically went to that assumption?
Wow.
Well, not that he's
security.
lying also. It's not that he's lying, but he's lying because he wants a security detail. No.
Yeah, no, that's
I can't buy that.
An incredible.
Yeah, I can't buy that.
Come on.
I mean, these are our office holders now too, At the end of the day,
come on.
Hello, good morning.
Exactly, they are office holders, and if you have a threat, you deserve the security. I'm sorry, you are now in the position.
And you have to treat it. Yes. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard and Wendell.
Good morning, Ms. Zina.
Yeah.
And Mr. Wendell, you don't answer your phone. So when I call you, answer your phone and let us decide whether you...
Don't call me right after the show. Call me about midday.
Right.
Because I'm going into something important right after the show. So call me about midday.
Right. Well, you call me.
All right, okay, I'll call you.
Right? We decide. So let me know, well, if you're passing that, I'll be home because, my feet are very hot. Listen to me. I feel just like you this morning, Wendell. As a matter of fact, I called John G on Saturday and expressed that same sentiment. Exactly. I don't agree with losers on either side. I don't agree with it. Putting people who are losers there. And it's not only what they will contribute to the house, My problem is if you weren't a good enough MP to pull your people to vote, how you turning around your people? Because a lot of people had causes, reasons why they didn't go out and vote. What you're going to do now that you're out of office, to bring back those people if you're hoping to go back up. But I know why. The strategy is just what you spoke about, Wendell. And I not only with that internal election, and I am only like you would bring back, my P&M blanket in the petty clothes basket, and I know when not washing. So I waiting to see myself before I had to burn it outside in the yard.
Oh my word.
Right.
That could be a big event in a reminder, see that?
What's with that?
That could be a big event in a reminder.
Well, it will have to be. Yeah. Yes, well, Charmaine, I believe she's in transit to home, so we're going to hear her because she might be able to listen to the show at the hour she's going to.
She's in JFK.
Yeah, and all that. So, wonderful play, Richard. I laughed so much and we were right in front. I had the elbow Charmaine and say, and I was disturb and distract the man from me. Look, it was good. I enjoyed it. Anyhow, people, when that comes around again, go out and see that play. Anyhow, right. I know other people waiting and it's short.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Wendell, in the case of you mentioned Dr. Rowley and I think it was Avinash Singh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he went up for a seat. I think he said that he couldn't win, right?
couldn't possibly win.
Right. So in a situation like that, right? If I go up, if you have a good person who you put up in a seat that you know they cannot win, but they have the ability to do certain things, won't you bring them back?
What do you mean?
Like if I'm you're representing the party, but I put you down in Saparia. Let us say in the case of you can't win Saparia, so you definitely you would be a loser. No, how you could win, but you have capabilities to do certain things that I believe in a situation. Wouldn't you bring back that person?
So, Sir Charles, my simple answer to that, you could get away with that when you in government. When you're in government, you could get away with that. For instance, the guy who ran in my area here, for the UNC, Dominic Smith, right? Against Dominic Romaine. He's a bright young guy. He lost, but guess what? He's Minister of Public Admin and AI today. You understand? Because clearly he has a skill that the Prime Minister wants to use. You could get away with that in government. You understand? But in opposition, you just spent 10 years and put me in opposition, and you still. So Charles, why were they invigilating me to talk about this?
I'm not looking at true, I'm just looking at it overall.
So Charles, I just want to find out, Wendell, wrong people back, boss?
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Miss
One of
Samson.
the reasons why them lost is, let me speak for San Fernando. You cannot find a Rari in the office. And the guy that he have there, Mr. Marcus, he has disappearing messages on his phone. Tell me to download the problem I have with an abandoned house. And when I did get him on the phone, send it back. I said, you can't be a damn minister and have that on your phone, which means you don't care about the people. You can't get to speak to anybody. You can't see the mayor to talk to something. And my problem doesn't be my problem, My problem does be the city problem. We have a wall here since before COVID, the wall near to fall. If that wall fall, we can't come out from any back here. And nobody cares. And when Dr. Rowley won, when PNM won the election, I sent him a registered mail letter concerning San Fernando problem. You spend 10 years in office. I even tell the gully gentleman, I send a next letter. I go to bed very late, all 1, 2. If you're bored in the night, you could give me a 5 minutes. Not a call in 10 years as a senior citizen complaining about the city where she lives in. It's all of that have them where they are today.
Miss Samson, did you say
about us? You only seen them once every 5 years.
I Miss Samson. When I was asking you something.
She said I registered mail with a handwritten letter put the registered stamp to send to Dr. Is that what she said she did?
Yeah, before he sat in that chair, I had my letter written out before they won because I know Pena was going to win that year. And I still have the receipt. I never get a call. I called back the office and I asked them if they threw it in the bin. Send the next letter. I did send the next letter telling him that I go to bed late. In the night, if you're bored, you could give me a 5 minutes.
No response.
I still didn't get a call. 10 years.
All right, thank you.
You have children, you have grandchildren. Do emails now, please, right? You see that registered letter thing? That nobody. I don't even go in my mailbox.
Yeah, it'll take me months to go in my mailbox. Sometimes I go.
A special good morning to Josephine Jemet. Jemet, I think is his name, Maraj Josephine Jemet. I always say good morning to his mom.
Yes.
Yeah, so good morning.
You met them at the play or what?
No, they're in the comment section that you're supposed to be following.
Well, I've been monitoring the comment section. There's a lot of back and forth, but one calling the next one a bully, and the next one calling him a dictator. So the back and forth they going.
Very vibrant.
Everything is normal in the comment section then.
But that's why I need to go to YouTube, Hello, good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Good morning.
Good morning, Wendell, and good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
So it was bad that the Prime Minister said there are 625 bus route passes to be recalled. and then to put the names and vehicle numbers, right? It was bad for that. But could anybody tell me if all those vehicles are on the road at the same time, the bus route? Because the maxi taxi president said he is so happy that happened because of that, the bus route is no longer a priority. It's congested. I mean, I don't use the bus route, I drive, but if I happen to take a maxi sometimes, I don't see so much private cars on the road all at once. I mean, you want to tell me 600 is only east-west corridor,
I don't think, I don't think 625 bus
You
route
know,
passes
yeah.
are
And when you
all
don't see them,
bus route at the same time. No.
Yeah,
Of
and when
course.
you,
They can be used at the same time.
yeah, you don't
Right,
see,
but then what congestion is there on the road? There's traffic all over. Our roads are so small for the millions of cars we have here. So the whole idea is, I just say, I mean, I don't know how 625 people get it all on time. I find people like Wendell, those were counselors, emergency people and all that could have the bus route passes. But ordinary people like me and Sir Charles, we go take the maxi or we go drive on the highway, right?
Yeah, but Miss Dabadi, I think the message. No, I understand the message that Mrs. Prasad Bisese is sending, because there has been a lot of abuses. In other words, one family have 10 passes. I understand that issue, because why would the mother, the father, and all the children need a pass? I understand that. And there are people who probably not living on the east-west corridor who may have bus route passes.
And that's what I'm saying now. I'm not going to say it's not people living in the US, but they're doing it with the PBR pass. But that is an abuse. But the point is, why only putting everybody's name on the papers?
Yeah, they
with
should.
the number?
But is what we said. You're entitled to recall and you're entitled to revalidate the process. I have no issue with that. But you know what? Interestingly enough, Minister Zakur, who's the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation, said he's not taking a bus route pass.
He lives in the West.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's. He said, I'm not taking a bus route pass. I told them, do not give me one. And he reported, but where you living?
Rich.
He said, Western Trinidad.
Mrs. Davide, we gotta go to the poll. We gotta go to the poll.
Thanks much. Yeah.
But hear what Tuna. With an empty sticker, you don't need a bus route pass.
Guess what? You're the Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation. So you go in Western Trinidad. Western Trinidad bus route matters not because you have nowhere to use it. Okay? But if you're heading east, to go anywhere, trust me, you're going to be in a Ministry of Transport van, and they have automatic leeway on that bus route. Automatic.
Yeah. But even though, as people talk about the amount of people on the bus route, the congestion is not so much. I mean, you see most private people and peak hours like all now and stuff and thing, but the congestion on the maxi and the bus route is how maxi drivers drive and pull up all in the traffic light to pick up people and all kind of things. So
they like to talk too much and we miss the time for the poll.
Yeah,
let's do it quickly.
Let me bring it up. Let me bring it up. They like to talk, with two people who like to talk, I'm the only one with a little bit of saying, I don't feel like to talk and we need to go to the poll. But those two blabbermouths, I went, Lord have mercy.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the poll. Do you support the placing of losing candidates in the Senate? Or let's start to vote fast.
Fast.
Fast. Start to vote. So, do you support the placing of losing candidates in the Senate? That was part of the discussion this morning. Yay or nay? That's our poll this morning.
I see Peter C. typing message here.
Yeah. So do you support the placing of losing candidates in the Senate? Yes or no? Of course, the number is 281-1315. But I don't think we'll be able to take any calls right now. But certainly, vote in the comment section.
Yeah, vote.
You can send your vote via YouTube and Facebook. You just say yes or no in the comment section on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll get it. So if you are watching us live on M&E TV, you will have to go to the YouTube stream or the Facebook stream if you want to vote, because we can't take any calls right now.
You ready for vote, sir?
Yes, I am.
Boy Bidesi, no. MTY, no. Alice Sahab, no. Megan Gonzalez, no. Mrs. R, yes. Diana Hamill, yes. Romantic, yes. Ilarizan, no. Michael Oliver, no. Cheryl Seeley, no. Terence Roach, no. Lester Cragwell, no. Kazim Mohammed, no. Julia Batiste, no. Joyce Phillips, yes. Rhea Sampson, no. Susan Jessup, no. Marlon Motley, no. Eldon Coker, morning Eldon, yes. Robert Harper, no. Ava Smith, no. Wayne Ramsey, no. DL, not at all. Those are the votes I have. Sir Charles, do you have any?
They're now coming in. I think I'll probably give you the WhatsApp after the news.
After the news. All right. So let's break for news. And when we come back, we will continue from Carol Guevara saying no. All right.
But of course, don't go anywhere. We have a very interesting interview coming up at 7:15. Dr. Nicholas Maraj, a neurologist, will be speaking with us and we'll be talking about Alzheimer's and brain health. And you know, that's affecting so many families across Trinidad and Tobago. And not, even if it doesn't affect you, it's a concern a lot of people have about their brain health and what can happen as you get older. So don't miss that interview. Super important. All right. This is where we head to the 7 a.m. news. Good morning, Amanda Mitchell.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Monday, May 26, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar described President Christine Kangaloo's address at Friday's ceremonial opening of the 13th Parliament as balanced and measured, echoing many of the government's key priorities, including crime, the economy, and AI. She defended her choices for House Speaker Jagdeo Singh, despite past bribery charges being overturned, and Senate Vice President Kenya Charles, calling Charles a strong leader from the UNC women's arm. On the PNM Senate picks, Prasad Bisesar criticized the return of former government members, suggesting the 1% still controls the party. She questioned whether collaboration with the opposition would be possible and noted the return of the symbolic Balizé tie as a shift back to partisan focus. Opposition leader Penelope Beckles-Robinson has defended appointing defeated PNM candidates Foster Cummings and Faris Al-Rawi as senators, citing their experience. Speaking after Friday's ceremonial opening of Parliament, Beckles-Robinson noted that even former leader Dr. Keith Rowley entered the Senate after losing an election. She emphasized that prior service in government makes both men valuable assets in the Senate. Beckles also highlighted the qualifications of other senators, including Harvard-trained attorney Melanie Roberts-Rajman and former prosecutor Janelle John Bates. Reports of sex crimes against minors have dropped significantly across Trinidad and Tobago, according to new police data. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service says there were 178 fewer cases reported in 2024 compared to 2023, a 32% decline overall. Inspector Darren Baptiste of the Special Victims Department attributes the drop to increased outreach and education campaigns aimed at parents, schools, and communities. The most notable decrease was in cases involving children aged 12 and under, which fell by nearly half from 143 to 76 reports. Despite the decline, Baptiste urged parents not to get complacent, warning that many abusers are known to the victims' families. A 16-year-old Couva schoolboy remains in police custody after fatally stabbing Marabella laborer Akil Sylvester on Friday, reportedly while defending his mother from a violent attack. Police say Sylvester allegedly choked and beat the woman with a cutlass after entering her vehicle and accompanying her home. Her son, arriving at the scene, intervened and stabbed Sylvester multiple times. Neighbors described the teen as quiet and respectful, saying he acted in defense of his mother, who was screaming for help. They said Sylvester had a history of abusive behavior. Calls have been made for the boy's release and for counseling for the family as the investigation continues. Calls are growing louder for the reopening of the Princestown fire station after 2 homes in the area were destroyed by fire within 24 hours. Local councillor Gowrie Rupnar Ryan says at least 7 homes have been lost since the fire station was shut down in July 2024 due to health and safety concerns. Fire officers were relocated to Mon Repos, leaving communities like Moruga, Piparo, and Tabakit vulnerable. One of the affected residents, Carmen Ramkisoon, said she, her husband, and their daughter are now without a place to live and are appealing for help. Princestown MP Dr. Aina Ali says reopening the fire station remains a priority. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In regional news, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley announced Saturday night that she will lead the Barbados Labour Party into the next general election, reversing her 2022 statement that this would be her final term. Speaking at a rally following a by-election win, Mottley cited mounting global instability, ongoing national transformation, and widespread appeals from citizens as reasons for her decision. She said personal grief had influenced her earlier decision, but she now sees her leadership as a duty, not a choice. True leadership is never about comfort, she told supporters. First elected in 2018 as Barbados's first female Prime Minister, Mottley led the BLP to 2 clean sweeps of all 30 parliamentary seats. The next election is due by 2027. In international news, Russia intensified its assault on Ukraine overnight, with the highest number of drones and missiles launched in a single attack so far. At least 38 people, including 3 children, were killed and dozens more injured. This was the second major strike in 48 hours, following a heavy assault on Kyiv the previous day. Ukrainian rescuers responded across more than 30 cities and villages, with President Volodymyr Zelensky condemning Russia for prolonging the war and continuing daily attacks despite calls for a ceasefire. Zelensky urged stronger international pressure and fresh sanctions on Moscow, warning that without firm action, the violence will persist. He also criticized the silence from the US, implying it may embolden Russian President Vladimir Putin. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Men, women, tired of the invasive, painful old methods of testing prostate and breasts? The Institute of Health and Fitness Clinic and Wellness Center offers comprehensive and non-invasive diagnostic testing, which indicates the nature and extent of diseases and tests your nutritional levels. Our quick testing can identify early signs of problems by evaluating many of the bodily functions, such as male and female sexual function, gastrointestinal function, liver function, kidney function, thyroid function, heart and brain function, and also cancer testing. Results are comparable with other medical lab tests without the use of needles or embalming specimen cups, and is pain-free. We also offer all natural treatments. Visit us now at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna, or call 492-7397 or 289-6363.
Join me, Brother David Muhammad, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio, Powerful Radio. Join me to hear knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Put a kiss on me right there, wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want. Won't you put a kiss on me right there, wherever you want, baby. Wherever wherever you want, baby, wherever you want. I like kisses in the morning when I wake up. That's the time I'm looking for shake up. If you flex that, we gotta make up. And you know what you gotta do, baby. Kiss me right there. Watch where I'm pointing. Kiss me right there, darling. I want you put a kiss on me right there. Wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want. Won't you put a kiss on me right there? Wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want. Lips all over me, my body. Come honey, let me direct you now properly, baby. Kiss me right there. Watch where I'm pointing. Kiss me right there, darling. I want you put a kiss on me right there. Wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want, baby. Wherever you want. Won't you put a kiss on me?
Fresh energy. This is the Net Radio Breakfast Show.
Oh, yes, we're putting that kiss of life on you right there. Of course, welcome inside our number 2. Yeah. Good to have you here on New Era TT Radio, Heartbeat of the Caribbean. And of course, this is the breakfast show as we welcome inside our number 2. Guys, good morning again.
Great news, Caribbean. The Breakfast Show is now on M&E TV, bringing you entertaining conversations, vital information, and influential perspectives throughout Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Catch us on Digicel Channel 20, Flow Channel 111, Amplia Channel 117, Blink Channel 109, Trico Channel 154, and Airlink Channel 10. The Breakfast Show connects with the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago like never before. We're now on M&E TV.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. Of course, we are back on the breakfast show this morning, and Wendell, there you are. And of course, we're moving our interview in a couple of minutes with Dr. Nicholas Maraj. But before that, we should give you the poll results. And our poll this morning, and let me just get to the poll this morning. And our poll this morning was: do you support the placing of losing candidates in the Senate? Wendell, do you have any additional votes?
Yes, I do. I have Timothy Johnson saying yes, Anand Lalu saying yes, J97 no, Admiring Conchel says no, well, he says Sherma says no, Sherma Paul says no, and Far Rockaway says yes, and that's it. That's the votes I have.
Yeah, and so Charles, do you have any?
Yeah, I have 6 no's. So you can just put it like that. Black Pearl says no. Howard says no. Miss Sampson says no. Pauline says no. Sexy Red says no. And Anand says no.
All right. So our poll this morning was: do you support the placing of losing candidates in the Senate? We had 36 people voting in the allotted time, and we had a very short time to vote on this poll because certain people like to talk plenty. So, we had a couple of minutes, but you all voted quickly. Some of you all. So 36 people voting on the poll this morning, and of course, of the 36, 28 of you said no, you do not support the placing of losing candidates in the Senate. 8 of you said, yeah, we do. So the nays have it this morning by a wide margin, and that brings us to the end of our poll results this morning. Of course, we're moving straight into our Let's Talk segment, and we are going to be back with Dr. Nicholas Maraj.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So good morning, Dr. Maraj, and thanks so much for joining us on the breakfast show this morning.
Good morning, Richard. It's a pleasure to be here this morning with you guys.
Morning, Dr. Maraj.
You know,
everybody?
Thanks for taking the time out to speak with us. We know you're a busy person, so thanks for taking the time to speak with us this morning. We appreciate it. Trust me.
Not a problem, guys. Not a problem at all.
You know, one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, Dr. Maraj, is there data in terms of our aged population and the prevalence of Alzheimer's? And I get it that Alzheimer's is a spectrum. Am I right?
So Alzheimer's itself is a disorder. It's Alzheimer's disease, and it's a type of dementia, and those are basically progressive neurological disorders affecting memory, thinking, and behavior. And Alzheimer's is a specific subtype of that type of dementia syndrome.
Right.
So there are different types of dementias. There's vascular frontotemporal, which is the one that Bruce Willis had. Lewy body dementia, which can happen to some patients with Parkinson's. Vascular is the more common one. But Alzheimer's is the one that you hear about from time immemorial. That's the really big bad wolf of them all.
Right. So Parkinson's is also part of dementia?
No, so there are two different neurodegenerative conditions. Neuro meaning brain, degenerative meaning the brain degenerates as time passes based on certain types of conditions or genetic factors, environmental factors allow this part of the brain to become active and degenerate accordingly. And it could lead to some patients having Parkinson's, some patients having Alzheimer's. So they're two different diseases, but they have some level of overlap based on the symptoms of each.
Okay. What about my question? Just a second, the question I was asking though is there any data on the percentile of the age population that is tracked, and we're saying, well, okay, it's at 10% that shows symptoms of Alzheimer's or have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Is there any data like that, or Trinidad is bad at it?
There's data, and the age bracket that you typically look about is greater than the 65-year age bracket. That's more commonly the patients who have typical Alzheimer's disease, and those who are less than 65 have early onset Alzheimer's.
So that would have been the question I was going to ask. At what age should we be concerned, or do people start showing signs of Alzheimer's?
That's a very good question. So lots of people have memory trouble here and there. People forget where they put their keys. People live very busy lives and can't keep track of certain things. But to say you really have dementia or Alzheimer's, you need to have a specific set of progressive disorders of your thinking, behavior, your memory. So it's only when you have those sorts of things you can really diagnose someone with dementia. Or above 65, that typically tends to happen a bit more so. And with those less than 65, it's more than likely to be some sort of disorder with memory and attention, because the first part of memory is paying attention to forming those long-term memory signals that show working memory into short-term memory into long-term memory. So above 65 is your kind of number that you're looking at.
Now, I know a lot of these disorders come with, it may come with attached to a certain ethnicity or thing like that. Is there how should I put it? What's the question I want to ask?
You want to ask
will any race show a proclivity to those type of things?
Lamentably, no. Everybody, it's equal amongst all race categories.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm wondering, because you would have people listening who are over 65, under 65. What accounts for the fact, Dr. Maraj, that you have people who are 90 or 99 and they're very cognitive and their memory is wonderful and they're very cognitive in terms of speaking with you and alert and very independent still at age 90 plus. You have some very independent people. And then you have people who might be 75 and 76, and they are completely the opposite. What accounts for that variation? And can we all get to the point of being very cognitive at 90 if we do certain things?
There are certain risk factors that increase the propensity to get some sort of dementias. They would include medical disorders such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, smoking, certain types of heart conditions, and those things affect the blood flow to the brain. And when you affect the blood flow to the brain, you could get little strokes, damage to specific areas of the brain that control thinking and memory. And when you add up these little pieces of damage, you can eventually have the clinical manifestations of something like dementia. Some patients who arrive at that lovely tender age of above 65, well into their 90s, may not have any of these predisposing conditions and hence have better brain health in general. There are other factors as well. For example, people who keep themselves pretty active. And activity is both from a physical activity point of view, mental activity point of view, and a big one that we noticed around the COVID time is socially active. Those factors for patients who keep themselves very active in those spheres tend to retard any sort of progression towards a dementia disorder. So 1 hour brisk activity every day is one of the main criteria to try and prevent some of these lifestyle conditions. Keeping yourself mentally active in terms of patients who you notice even after they retire, they still keep themselves engaged in either with some sort of new activity, some sort of new type of job, some sort of new physical activity that allows them to interact with people, and that helps their social health go up. You notice that these patients have a significantly reduced risk of having things like dementia.
Is learning new stuff a plus? You know, you get all sorts of things on the internet, of course, and I'm sure as a neurologist, you'll kind of sometimes roll your eyes. But I know one of the things they have suggested is like learning new stuff, learning a new language, learning a new skill. All that is part of optimizing your brain health. Is that true?
That is very correct. Learning new skills does optimize your brain health, and different skills can activate different parts of your brain. So, for example, if it's a new physical skill, for example, like dancing, or if you've never rode a bike in your life, trying to learn to ride a bike for the first time, learning a new language is complicated. It's very difficult to do after a specific age, but trying to stick with that type of activity as you age does help to rewire brain pathways and allow different areas of the brain that are a bit quieter because you've no longer been using them to start reworking and keeping yourself and keeping the brain active.
What about different types of foods, Dr. Maraj? Because you hear, people actually advertise food as brain food. Is that actually helpful?
That's a good one. So when I was small, my dad used to always be saying, fish is brain food, and this, that, the other. You need to eat a specific amount of fish in your diet every week to allow yourself to become more cognitively active, so you can do well in school and whatnot. Certain foods are definitively worse for you. So high saturated fats, refined carbohydrates, those things we know are very bad for humans in general along all their health spectrum. It increases your glycemic indices, increasing your risk for diabetes, increasing your risk for having hypertensive disorders. And these things, in addition to the food, and by becoming overweight, increases your risk of having any sort of brain disorder that depends on the blood flow towards your brain. If you're asking about foods that are preventative, there's a lot of anecdotal studies, but nothing very robust for me to come on a national television program and advocate for this versus that.
Mm-hmm.
Or eat a set of saltfish because that is good for your brain. You can't say that, can you?
Lamentably not. I can tell you what we know is not good for you. What specifically is good for you at this point in time? The jury is kind of out right now.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I was wondering? Sorry to interrupt you, Brendan.
That's good.
You know what I was wondering, connected to food, and they say brain food and whatever it is, and of course I suppose eating healthily and varied foods in terms of salads and stuff like that. I suppose what we know, what we should be eating and what we should not be eating.
Sure.
What about supplements? Because you have a lot of supplements on the market that they say is good for brain health, and you see it advertised on the label, not FDA approved in terms of those recommendations, but they say it anyway. And of course, you also have things like ginkgo and stuff like that. Are there supplements that definitively you can tell people you should be taking as a supplement to your brain? Are there some things like that?
So it's a question I love to get all the time. The robustness of the evidence for so the criteria for guidelines amongst supplements would involve like the Canadian guidelines, the American guidelines, European guidelines. And if they advocate for one specific set of supplements versus the other, people would go and spend a lot more money on this specific thing. But they have to make sure that this specific supplement works and is shown statistically over a range of people with a very, very high number of people in the study showing some sort of benefit. Lamentably, there's no real good quality evidence for one specific supplement over another. However, when you anecdotally speak to patients, you notice that they say like maybe the ginkgo works, maybe the Prevagen works, maybe the Mind Ease works, maybe this, and they tell you different brands. What I tell a lot of patients is that once you are not spending an inordinate amount of money buying this specific supplement every single month, that you should be spending on making rather than money that you should be spending on your medication for like your high blood pressure, your diabetes, or those other things, you go ahead and buy it. But if you're spending money like that kind of willy-nilly that you should be spending on other things, no, those aren't the supplements for you.
No, this may sound silly, right, Dr. Maraj? But I would have heard a theory at one point in time, because for people who live like on the same block, or the elderly people in the family after the 65 developed Alzheimer's, and they were talking about it has to have something to do with the transformer in the area. It was as silly as that. Do you get these kind of things coming at your way? Do people come with stories that out of whack in terms of why people in a certain area, geographical area, may be suffering from Alzheimer's?
So there's you get all these things. You get people coming and saying it was something in the bush that people threw for them that caused the entire family to get Alzheimer's or memory trouble in this particular thing. You get the weird ones like the patient says the electricity in the house is the 5G Wi-Fi, this, that, the other. Statistically, large studies have not shown any correlation between these things. However, it is important to say that rather than just there's the dementias that are due to the brain becoming dysfunctional, but there's also dementia disorders due to certain metabolic conditions such as hypothyroidism, which is underactive thyroid gland, and B12 deficiency, as well as a disease that people knew in the old days as syphilis. Those three conditions can cause dementia in patients. And the good thing is that they are a reversible cause of dementia, because you can treat hypothyroidism, you can treat B12 deficiency, and you can treat syphilis. So that's something we typically check all patients for who have a dementia, this syndrome, that is potentially reversible. And people can have hypothyroidism from lack of iodine in their diets. People can have B12 deficiency from living certain types of diets, having certain types of medical conditions. And I mean, Syphilis used to be very common back in the day because this is a sexually transmitted disease, and certain that tends to run rampant in certain places.
Yeah. You know what I was wondering? Because you talked about the baseline of 65 plus, and you talk about the under 65s, and in terms of let's a differentiation. At what you know they say you should have a colonoscopy from age 45. I think the American Medical Association is saying now, especially people of color, from age 45. But in Trinidad and Tobago, you don't get a lot of people doing colonoscopies in the same way like maybe Americans may do, because they have a lot of the information, and of course their insurance covers it. Our insurance doesn't,
right?
Which always confuses me. But our insurance doesn't cover it, but it's something that you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something in terms of looking at brain health that we are supposed to do in terms of a certain timeline? So at age 65, you should get a cognitive test. I'm just asking, in terms of, are there things in terms of monitoring your brain health that you should be doing and seeing with your doctor or with a specialist at a particular age that you should check? And has the science advanced enough yet to retard if you see something or reverse?
You raise a fantastic point there, Richard. There are no specific guidelines regarding what age you start screening patients for dementia disorders. It's more of you educate the entire population as to what the symptoms are. And if you notice granny or uncle is having these types of symptoms, you raise it with at least some healthcare practitioner, so that they could give them some baseline level of cognitive evaluation. It's a mental status evaluation or mini mental status evaluation would be what most general practitioners would do. And then they would refer appropriately to a specialist if the need arises. You mentioned the colonoscopies and 45-year radiant. Yes, that is what the American Gastroenterology Association does advocate. And colon cancer is becoming a lot more common in a lot younger populations than that. I've seen patients who are mid-30s, young 30s with colon cancer already, and it's a factor of many different things: lifestyle, diet, genetics. And it's scary. It's scary, especially for all of us who are definitely above that age range right now. Back to dementia, there's no good medical therapies that either one prevent it or to significantly retard its progression. So getting a disorder, getting a formal diagnosis of dementia can help people put things in place regarding how their life may progress over a specific period of time, because there's a lot to deal with. If your memory starts to go, who's going to help take care of your legal things, your property, your money? So those things become very, very troublesome if somebody does have a diagnosis of dementia. We all know issues in Trinidad. We've all heard of instances in Trinidad where people have been swindled out of their rightful belongings by family members, by other nefarious parties, based on their decline in their cognition as they age.
So right, son, that goes to another question, because in terms of companionship at that stage in your life, is that important?
Quite much so, because pros and cons. So companionship prior has been shown to retard cognitive decline, particularly in good companionship situations. Patients who become demented at a later age, there's the companions can help buttress a lot of the trouble that tends to happen, but it depends on the type of dementia that the person has, and if they're having significant behavioral issues or psychotic features, which can then put the partner at risk for becoming having some sort of injury, whether it's mental health injury, physical injury, or emotional injury.
So, and there's a part two of that question, because some patients I know, some people, let me not say patients, some people I know display violent tendencies to the either the caregiver or the partner at some point in time, and they don't remember what they've done.
Very sad, very sad. Yeah, so there is, and that's part of the diagnosis of the dementia, is if there's significant change in behavior. So some people who are nice, normal their entire life can become quite aggressive, both physically and verbally. And it becomes very, very, very troublesome in the families where this happens. It could split families. I've seen some patients having to put their family members in institutionalized places because of trouble with aggressive tendencies.
Yeah. I know
Very
of
sad.
cases like that personally.
In addition to the medications we have for dementia, there are other medications that we can give specifically for the aggressive tendencies. And I think they're a bit underutilized by some of the primary practitioners. But I think maybe it's just a lack of understanding of some of the medications that we have available.
What about hyperbaric chambers? Are those useful?
You hear a lot of anecdotal stories about that being helpful. If you have access to a hyperbaric chamber in your backyard, go right ahead to doing it. But it's also an expensive endeavor, and whether that expensive endeavor does lead to something significantly sustained in terms of benefit, the jury is still out. So we know of this this thing called a placebo effect, right? A placebo effect is where you give a treatment that's not known to be helpful in a specific way, but the patients exhibit symptoms of relief or help in a specific direction. It goes on the underlying premise that the brain is a magnificent organ. It's able to trick itself into feeling that it's better by not necessarily having the ideal treatment. And some patients do get these type of placebo effects from certain things. It's once you're not getting your eye dug out by somebody who is once you're not financially putting yourself into ruin for these treatments, I don't see much disadvantage in it.
Yeah. I was wondering, because you're involved in that field, how much, I mean, of course, you would be involved in the science and what's going on around the world in terms of research. I suppose it would be something that you would look at. Are scientists and doctors in this field hopeful that there will be significant breakthroughs in the short future? Because science is always progressing. You also have AI now. I mean, do they expect that there will be significant breakthroughs in terms of dealing with dementia in its various forms?
Richard, there's so much money currently being put into the dementia research field right now amongst the entire planet. It's very likely that we would get some ideas within the near to intermediate future regarding the underlying super causes of it and what treatment options may be beneficial for specific types of populations. So as the world population enlarges and gets bigger, the amount of people who are living to age above 65 is increasing. So the amount of patients who are going to get dementia is naturally going to increase. The trouble then lies in the economic necessity to take care of these patients from a public health care point of view and a private healthcare point of view. A lot of resources are being directed or would have to be redirected to taking care of these patients. So a lot of money is being spent upfront to try and prevent that from happening. So hopefully 5-10 years, lots of things are happening. I think last week or the week before, we're getting closer to having a blood test to check for tau and beta amyloid in the blood as markers for Alzheimer's disease in the long run. What does that mean for patients and for family members? We as a society are still trying to figure it out, but those things are coming out.
Yeah. Is it that? Sorry, Wendell. Again, is it that like an MRI scan, for example, of your brain, would indicate if there were any issues? I'm just asking.
So the way that we kind of diagnose dementia is somebody needs to come in and say, listen, this patient is not doing well cognitively. There's some memory problems. They're not behaving the way that they used to. They double paying bills. They leaving the doors open at night. The stove was on, the house nearly burned down, this, that, the other. And so those are red flags. You do a cognitive assessment of the patient to give them some sort of numerical assessment as to how mild, moderate, or severe their cognition is at the point in time. You find out about other things that could be causing trouble. You do the blood tests for reversible causes of dementia, like the thyroid, the B12, the syphilis, things like certain other conditions can cause it. Then you must take a picture of the brain, because there are other things besides just Alzheimer's itself that can cause memory trouble. There's something called normal pressure hydrocephalus. Certain types of disorders in the brain where there's some bleeding in the brain can cause something to mimic dementia, and these are reversible causes potentially. The MRI scan can tell if there's specific parts of the brain that are shrunken, the temporal lobe, the parietal lobe, the frontal lobe, and that can give you an indication as to this person having more dementia, Alzheimer's type of picture versus something else. And when you kind of put this entire thing together, then you can put somebody into category of either having Alzheimer's, dementia, dementia disorder, and what subtype they might have.
One of the common things that families suffer from, Dr. Maraj, is their family member walking away or just leaving the house and they're not able to find them. We've had several cases of that across. Every family may have had an experience like that, actually. What accounts for this, and how could this be helped?
In Alzheimer's specifically, the part of your brain that deals with visuospatial information becomes a bit problematic, and your short-term memory becomes a bit problematic. So patients may end up leaving their current home thinking that the home that they used to live by when they were kids would be their actual home, and they try to leave the area that they're currently at. That then combined with their visuospatial issues, they tend to become lost, and they can try to get somewhere and not end up in the place that they're going. So that's what happens when patients tend to wander. They wander from the place that they currently are because they might not think that this is their current abode anymore.
Yeah. I know a lot of families have been suffering.
It is very scary. It is very, very, very scary. And when you talk to people, this is a really interesting thing that not old wives' tale, but I've seen it happen so many times. Around the full moon, patients tend to become a bit more active in these regards, and they become quite strong. If you notice, Alzheimer's patients, they can be really small like me, and they can tend to break doors down when people keep them at home when they're supposed to be. And people have come home sometimes to find that doors are off the hinges, the gates broken down, and their loved one isn't there anymore. Really,
that's the werewolf theory.
Yeah, the lunatic theory.
Yeah.
I have a question, guys. Well, actually, it's like two parts of the question, Doc. One is how, because I'm realizing more and more people that I know, you're seeing it like, in families more now. So one is, how prevalent is dementia or Alzheimer's in Trinidad and Tobago at this point in time? And also for families who are caring for loved ones with Alzheimer's or dementia, it creates some real overwhelming challenges I'm seeing with some people. One individual I know, for example, what advice would you give to families who are struggling to cope, especially when the person becomes agitated or difficult to manage? What would you say to those families?
I'll take part two of your question first because I kind of forgot what part one was. In terms of advice to those family members for patients who are becoming agitated and whatnot, there's a lot of conservative treatments that you can do to them, including soft, gentle music, trying to deal with them with as much care and understanding as possible. Usually kind of helps some of the very mild agitation to calm down. For patients who are a bit more agitated, they would need some sort of medical therapy. And there are lots of treatments that are available, and it's all tailored to how bad, what specific things patients are doing, their allergies and their other risk factors that they have, and other medical therapies. So, talk to your doctor about that. There are treatments that are available to try and prevent family members from suffering needlessly from agitated dementia patient, and to prevent the patient themselves from having to suffer through that. Your first question again was, what was the
How
prevalence?
common is it?
How prevalent?
I can't give you exact number. I can just tell you that the number of people above the age of 65 is significantly increasing, which would indicate that the prevalence and incidence of the disease itself would increase with time. I myself have noticed this. This is my field, so I see it a lot more often than a regular practitioner. But it is very common in my practice in Mount Hope. I have about maybe 50 patients a day, maybe about 100 patients a week. Out of those 100 patients we see a week, at least 10 to 15 of them would be referred for some sort of cognitive evaluation.
All right. At what stage in the maybe the word is deterioration, should families seek us help?
Earlier the better. Earlier the better. When you notice that something's going a bit off, you come to us and we do an assessment, and we can tell you, no, this is just because there's some things that people come to me in their 30s and be like, Doc, I have real bad memory problems. And I'm like, most of the time, this is probably not going to be anything. However, I have seen patients who are in their 30s who have something called their specific genetic problems. So somebody who has like the ApoE genetic profile has a significantly increased risk for having dementia in the under 60 age category. I've seen somebody as young as 30s having dementia based on this abnormal genetics. This is few and far between. Few and far between. Most patients who are in the mid 30s, 40s kind of thing, you're just bogged down by the trouble with life. We're just so busy. We don't allow our working memory to turn into short-term memory. So that's lack of attention manifests itself as memory trouble. But once you get that kind of out of the way, and once you relieve a lot of the stress that are going on around people, their cognition tends to become a lot better.
Yeah.
Are you willing to take some calls,
Dr. Maraj?
Calls, love those.
Right. Yeah, so we are speaking with Dr. Nicholas Maraj, a neurologist, and he is covering so many things that we are all, how I should put it, affected by one way or the other. It may not be directly in your family, but I'm sure a friend may have reached out to you and said, this is what happened to auntie, or this is what happened to uncle, or uncle gone and auntie gone. So call in and you can ask your questions now. Someone raised the issue of sex life, yes, sex life, like active sex life. I guess after the age of 65, because they can't be talking me before that. You know?
I mean, if an active sex life is good for your brain health, is that what you mean, Mel?
Yes.
That active sex life is good for all aspects of your health, your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, definitely your social health, and those things.
But not your financial health.
Well, you never know, you know.
But can we clarify it just for some people out there? We don't mean promiscuous sexual behavior.
Correct.
You mean
we don't mean promiscuous sexual behavior. We mean with one partner that's a consensual relationship with one partner there and about. That continuous healthy type of sex life would tend to retard a lot of medical issues, as well as giving you some sort of exercise, as well as emotional support, and that social connection tends to retard some of these types of disorders: high blood pressure, diabetes.
That would have answered Finbar Collins' question a little earlier on.
Yes. Do we have any calls, Sir Charles?
Right now, no. And people, the number is that you can call 2811315. That's 2811315. Doc, because I see people who are treating and taking care of their families and stuff, getting very frustrated, but sometimes they feel that the patient is doing certain things on, not to help the situation, and they are
On
aware of what they
purpose.
are doing. With somebody like that, are they aware of what they are doing?
No, unfortunately not. Their brain has become diseased, so their thought pattern is not compatible with one who has a more sensible thought pattern. They have a disorder of thought, so they don't think the same way that we think anymore. So this pattern of behavior would be in their minds okay. So the patient and family members are understandably going to become frustrated and angry and upset. And those are natural human emotions to something dysfunctional. It's just that we beg family members to have a significant more set of patience. The patience of Job to have to deal with some of these family members is what's necessary. And when that's no longer possible in the family units that we have nowadays that are getting smaller, people have their own lives, things are a lot more dysfunctional, finances are very much more difficult, family members can't tend to cope anymore. And some patients end up becoming institutionalized, which is sometimes a good thing for the family members, because there's a big deal of caregiver burden. And that's the medical term for it, for when family members put their own lives and their own health at the back burner to try and take care of their relatives, and they become ill by extension.
That's true.
Okay, we have a couple callers coming in. Caller, morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, folks. Thank you for being here, Doctor. I see one of the texters put a good question here. They were asking if there's a high risk of Alzheimer's if someone had radiation on the brain. And my question to you, and I'm not being frivolous here, I can assure you, but there are times I in my home, I'll sprint upstairs or run upstairs with a focus to go do something. I'll just catch myself, oh shoot, what did I run upstairs for? I mean, is that a sign of something like as you get older, the risk of getting Alzheimer's? And I'll listen off the air. And thank you for being here, and guys, good job in getting an interview like this morning. Take care.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you very much for that question there. So isolated incidents like those of short-term memory impairment, once it's not affecting your daily functioning or affecting your different domains of cognition, usually imply some amount of inattention leading for the brain memory to go into short-term memory, and hence you forget these little things. That's usually a non-pathological sign for dementia. However, if you have some of these little things and they're adding up into much more pervasive troubles in terms of the red flag features, for example, leaving your car on, leaving the stove on, missing to pay bills, neglecting your hygiene, neglecting your otherwise tasks, those things would indicate that there is a significant enough disorder of your thinking and your memory that's impacting your daily life, and would predispose and would by definition put you a bit more into the category of mild cognitive impairment that may then progress to dementia.
What about repeating yourself? There are a lot of people who repeat themselves. They repeat the same story over and over. Is that a sign?
That is worrisome, especially if you overcome a certain age and you notice that you're asking a question many times. So you tell your family member, hey, we have to go to this appointment tomorrow. And then between today and tomorrow, they ask you it back 5-10 times. This is concerning.
Yes.
Caller, good
What
morning.
about the radiation question? You didn't answer that one.
Hold on 1 minute, Richard. Let me just take the caller. Caller, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen and Doc.
Good morning.
The recent debate 2 years ago was with NFL players and this thing called CTE. Right now, you are a neurologist. So I'm saying that places like the English FA and even US soccer would have trimmed down the guidelines in terms of activity with juveniles and hitting the ball and that kind of thing. And now you now have here locally as well, the concussion protocol, in cricket, and we see it and thing. My question to you is this something that people like yourself are tracking, and do you think that more study is required in terms of seeing how early brain trauma begins and whether this contributes as people get older and continue in a particular sport to what you have specialized in? Thanks for that. Great interview.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Fantastic question. That's a fantastic question. So you noticed it back in the day with boxers who used to get like a lot of head trauma. They used to get a special type of dementia with those patients, something called dementia. I can't remember the exact terminology, but chronic traumatic brain injury causes brain shrinkage and damage to the brain, which will affect memory and cognition and predispose patients to certain types of cognitive impairments. Regarding guidelines and stuff, which are becoming more stringent on sports and chronic traumatic brain injury, that is definitely a step in the right direction. We have noticed that you can get a concussion and then have something called post-concussion syndrome, which can sometimes be a small risk factor for developing a cognitive impairment disorder later. So we're trying to minimize the amount of unnecessary head trauma we have in both in the sport fields and in the non-sport fields.
Okay.
The radiation question, the guy.
It depends on what radiation they're speaking about. So there's natural background radiation that occurs on the planet, which everybody's exposed to some extent, and then there's radiation specifically for like treatment brain cancer, which is focused high intensity radiation to specifically do a certain thing, and those treatments have their place in getting a specific disorder sorted out, but do raise the risk of certain other things. Regarding our background risk of radiation, the risk is kind of null and void from the studies that are currently out.
All right. Go, 1 minute. Wendell, caller, good morning.
Good morning to you, Sir Charles.
Morning.
And to Richard, Wendell, and the doctor there.
Good morning.
Yeah. Way back in the early 70s, I had a family member with that kind of situation. And at that time, I did not know what to do. So I kind of must confess that I did very little because the people in the community didn't know either. And, I don't think even the word Alzheimer's was prevalent. Anyway, my question this morning is, what role would the doctor say does meditation play in prevention and in cure? Meditation in prevention and in cure. What if the doctor knows or would subscribe to that view that helps?
Okay.
Great question. So meditation has been shown to reduce the amount of stress that patients have by redirecting their ability to cope with stress. So the maladaptation to coping with stress increases your cortisol and increases your risk of having lifestyle diseases. Meditation, by and large, proper meditative practices, increases one's ability to deal with that stress in a positive manner, hence reducing these lifestyle diseases, and by extension would reduce your ability to have some sort of dementia disorder. So I'm a fairly avid meditation practitioner as well. It definitely helps me out in my life, and I do hope that it continues to try and allow me to get a lot of my lifestyle diseases pushed back.
A caller asked in the chat, Dr. Maraj, about marijuana smoking.
Let's get this one. That's very it depends. So marijuana smoking chronically has a lot of trouble, especially with the younger population. You can get a lot of medical conditions that are due to marijuana misuse. So there's this kind of progressive apathy, lethargy that happens to patients who misuse marijuana from a very early age. Regarding misuse of marijuana and its impact on cognitive health, it depends on when you start smoking it, how long you're smoking it for, how much you're smoking, if you're smoking it with cigarettes as well, because cigarette smoke has been shown to affect your cardiovascular health, which will impact your brain health and predispose you to having lifestyle diseases such as dementia. So if it's cigarette smoking in addition to marijuana, definitely that is out of the question. Marijuana smoking by itself has its negative side effects. I can't tell you if it's very, very, very user dependent. I can't just give you a blanket answer.
Yeah, it affects different people differently.
Yes.
Can I take this final call very quickly? Caller, good morning.
Good morning again, gentlemen. Doctor, good morning. What I want to find out is, seeing that this is becoming very prevalent, worldwide, in Trinidad and Tobago, are there clinics that families, apart from the patient attending, are there clinics that families can go for knowledge and advice as to how to take care of these people? And are they advertised? You know what I mean? Because it's difficult, as you say, when for families to take care of. So what? Tell me something more about that. If there are clinics for people, programs for families to go to hear how to take care of these patients.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Counseling sessions for families.
So there are. So dementia is handled by the neurologists. So there's a neurology clinic in Port of Spain General, Eric Williams, where I work, San Fernando, as well as Sangre Grande. So each of the neurologists in those areas would handle dementia patients. And usually when somebody comes in with some question of dementia or cognitive impairment, family members typically tend to come, and we encourage family members to come in. So when we make the diagnosis, so we assess the cognition, we tell family members what they can do, what things can be offered to them, what services are available to them to try and help mitigate them and help them deal with their their loved one who has this disorder. Regarding available information, there is the Alzheimer's Association of Trinidad and Tobago. You could just kind of Google it, and they have resources available for patients and family members who have this disorder in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's where we're going to have to leave it this morning, Dr. Maraj. Thank you so much for giving of your time and expertise on the Breakfast Show this morning.
It's my pleasure.
Yes,
looking forward to being back
with
you
you.
guys.
A refreshing interview.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We'll have you back because I'm sure a lot of people have more questions, and it's healthy to have this discussion about these issues.
Yeah, well, hopefully they remember it by then too.
Hopefully we remember to come and have a chat about it.
Right.
Do have a lovely day, everybody. All the best to the people of Trinidad. Having a lovely Monday. Grand rising, everyone. All the best.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dr. Maraj. So of course, that was Dr. Nicholas Maraj, neurologist. And of course, that was us talking about Alzheimer's. But you know what? Let me not chit-chat too much because we're a little late with the news. So let's get straight in.
Do the news and we'll come back.
Yeah, Richard.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
This is your news update for Monday, May 26, 2025. I am Amanda Mitchell with New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar described President Christine Kangalu's address at Friday's ceremonial opening of the 13th Parliament as balanced and measured, echoing many of the government's key priorities, including crime, the economy, and AI. She defended her choices for House Speaker Jagdeo Singh, despite past bribery charges being overturned, and Senate Vice President Kenya Charles, calling Charles a strong leader from the UNC women's arm. On the PNM Senate picks, Prasad Bisesar criticized the return of former government members, suggesting the 1% still controls the party. She questioned whether collaboration with the opposition would be possible and noted the return of the symbolic Balize tie as a shift back to partisan focus. Opposition leader Penelope Beckles-Robinson has defended appointing defeated PNM candidates Foster Cummings and Faris Al-Rawi as senators, citing their experience. Speaking after Friday's ceremonial opening of Parliament, Beckles-Robinson noted that even former leader Dr. Keith Rowley entered the Senate after losing an election. She emphasized that prior service in government makes both men valuable assets in the Senate. Beckles also highlighted the qualifications of other senators, including Harvard-trained attorney Melanie Roberts-Rajman and former prosecutor Janelle John Bates. Reports of sex crimes against minors have dropped significantly across Trinidad and Tobago, according to new police data. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service says there were 178 fewer cases reported in 2024 compared to 2023, a 32% decline overall. Inspector Darren Baptiste of the Special Victims Department attributes the drop to increased outreach and education campaigns aimed at parents, schools, and communities. The most notable decrease was in cases involving children aged 12 and under, which fell by nearly half from 143 to 76 reports. Despite the decline, Baptiste urged parents not to get complacent, warning that many abusers are known to the victims' families. A 16-year-old Couva schoolboy remains in police custody after fatally stabbing Marabella laborer Akil Sylvester on Friday, reportedly while defending his mother from a violent attack. Police say Sylvester allegedly choked and beat the woman with a cutlass after entering her vehicle and accompanying her home. Her son, arriving at the scene, intervened and stabbed Sylvester multiple times. Neighbors described the teen as quiet and respectful, saying he acted in defense of his mother, who was screaming for help. They said Sylvester had a history of abusive behavior. Calls have been made for the boy's release and for counseling for the family as the investigation continues. Calls are growing louder for the reopening of the Princestown fire station after 2 homes in the area were destroyed by fire within 24 hours. Local councillor Gowrie Rupnar Ryan says at least 7 homes have been lost since the fire station was shut down in July 2024 due to health and safety concerns. Fire officers were relocated to Mon Repos, leaving communities like Moruga, Piparo, and Tabakit vulnerable. One of the affected residents, Carmen Ramkisoon, said she, her husband, and their daughter are now without a place to live and are appealing for help. Princestown MP Dr. Aina Ali says reopening the fire station remains a priority. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In regional news, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley announced Saturday night that she will lead the Barbados Labour Party into the next general election, reversing her 2022 statement that this would be her final term. Speaking at a rally following a by-election win, Mottley cited mounting global instability, ongoing national transformation, and widespread appeals from citizens as reasons for her decision. She said personal grief had influenced her earlier decision, but she now sees her leadership as a duty, not a choice. True leadership is never about comfort, she told supporters. First elected in 2018 as Barbados's first female prime minister, Mottley led the BLP to 2 clean sweeps of all 30 parliamentary seats. The next election is due by 2027. In international news, Russia intensified its assault on Ukraine overnight, with the highest number of drones and missiles launched in a single attack so far. At least 38 people, including 3 children, were killed and dozens more injured. This was the second major strike in 48 hours, following a heavy assault on Kyiv the previous day. Ukrainian rescuers responded across more than 30 cities and villages, with President Volodymyr Zelensky condemning Russia for prolonging the war and continuing daily attacks despite calls for a ceasefire. Zelensky urged stronger international pressure and fresh sanctions on Moscow, warning that without firm action, the violence will persist. He also criticized the silence from the US, implying it may embolden Russian President Vladimir Putin. That concludes your news update for today. I'm Amanda Mitchell for New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. The Breakfast Show with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles continues right after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
Of course, this is where we wrap up the breakfast show on this Monday morning. And it is a little rainy. It's raining from time to time and then clearing up. So it's that kind of morning. I don't know if it's going to be like that for the entire day. But thanks so much for joining us on the breakfast show. We know you have choices in where you spend your time on a morning. And we appreciate you taking the time to spend it with us. And of course, thank you to Dr. Maraj for spending time with us this morning, talking about that very important topic. Have a fantastic day, whatever you do, and remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health.
All righty, folks. Remember, one life, live it. Can't put it any simpler than that.
And people stay with us because remember, we continued programming all throughout the day. So you can stay with us at www.newerattradio.com. You can also check us out on the TuneIn app. And of course, even if you're listening to us on M&E TV and wherever else, don't forget to go and check out our YouTube channel. It's very important. All right.
Yep. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Thank you, guys. Have a fantastic
All right, so that's it. This has been
The Breakfast Show.
The show.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line. Let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show energy